Sun breathing is the strongest breathing style in the Demon Slayer universe, but moon breathing stands as its closest rival, created by none other than Yoriichi's older brother Michikatsu. In today's video, we'll explore how the Demon Slayer story would change if Tanjiro learned moon breathing from Kokushibo and merged it with sun breathing to create a new signature breathing style. Now obviously, this theory is going to turn the entire Demon Slayer universe upside down, so let's go all the way back to that cold, snowy night when Kibutsuji Muzan slaughtered the Kamado family. In this storyline, fate takes a darker turn, because it's not Giyu who appears at the Kamado household. Kokushibo is wandering the mountains, seeking civilians for prey, or hopefully a strong demon slayer to give him a challenge. When he stumbles upon the siblings, it's initially a pitiful sight. A young boy tries to hold off his sister who's been turned into a bloodthirsty demon. But just as he prepares to leave the scene, Kokushibo notices something unusual. The boy's Hanafuda earrings are the exact same ones that Yoriichi used to wear all those years ago, and the scar on his forehead is in precisely the same location as Yoriichi's Demon Slayer mark. As far as he knew, Yoriichi and Uta didn't have a child, but what if there was some detail of his brother's bloodline that Kokushibo had missed? In that moment, Kokushibo makes a decision that will reshape the Demon Slayer world forever. He decides to spare them both. Nezuko is already a demon, but the Upper Moon One has no trouble knocking her unconscious. Tanjiro is terrified, but he's also desperate. Kokushibo picks up Nezuko and asks Tanjiro to follow him, leaving the boy with no choice but to travel with this mysterious stranger. Kokushibo takes the siblings deep into the mountains, to a hidden sanctuary unknown to both demons and demon slayers. For the first time since becoming a demon, the Upper Moon One feels a sense of purpose. He sees Tanjiro as a way to preserve the legacy of the Tsugikuni bloodline. Kokushibo tells Tanjiro that his sister had been turned into a demon. As a regular human, he would be completely helpless against her, but Kokushibo offers to train him to be strong enough to protect Nezuko and avenge his family. Accepting the idea of demons isn't too difficult for Tanjiro, as Saburo had warned him about this very thing the night before. The more pressing question for him is Kokushibo's identity, but naturally the demon refuses to share any details and tells Tanjiro that he will have to leave if he asks too many questions. And so begins Tanjiro's brutal training in moon breathing. Urokodaki was a tough teacher in the original timeline, but he was at least a kind-hearted person. Kokushibo is merciless in comparison, as he pushes Tanjiro to his limits, forcing him to think on the spot, and never hesitating to deal a heavy blow to demonstrate the cost of slipping up. Learning moon breathing triggers Tanjiro's childhood memories. He's seen something like this before. Tanjiro mentions to his master that the moon breathing forms have some similarities to a dance his father used to perform called the Hinokami Kagura. The dance of the fire god, Kokushibo mutters. He asks Tanjiro to perform any movements he remembers and is shocked to realize that this dance is a toned-down version of sun breathing. Kokushibo thinks that his theory was right all along. Yoriichi's bloodline appears to have survived, but it's even better than he expected. The basic movements of sun breathing have been preserved as well. Kokushibo immediately switches focus to rebuild sun breathing together with Tanjiro. Moon breathing could wait. He'd already perfected it over centuries. As Tanjiro practices the dance-like movements, fragments of memories that aren't his own begin to surface. He sees a gentle man performing a sacred dance under the sun, movements that feel both familiar and forbidden. These are the ancestral memories of Sumiyoshi, his ancestor who witnessed Yoriichi Tsugikuni perform sun breathing to save his family from demons. As his training progresses, Kokushibo sends Tanjiro on missions to practice fighting against actual demons, armed with a Nichirin sword that Kokushibo took from a demon slayer. One night, during an intense battle against a particularly vicious demon, Tanjiro enters a state almost like a trance, and his body moves on its own. Suddenly, his strikes burst with a radiance that contrasted beautifully with the crescent moon slashes he'd been taught. Kokushibo witnesses this moment from afar and is filled with shock, recognition, and something that might have even been pride. The boy has finally accessed sun breathing, the very technique that eluded Michikatsu Tsugikuni all those years ago. But what Tanjiro performed that night was not sun breathing in its purest form. He did not yet have the mastery to pull that off. What he created was neither sun nor moon, a perfect convergence of light and shadow that resulted in a devastating eclipse. If everything stayed the same, Tanjiro would have worked with Kokushibo to develop eclipse breathing, but his nightly activities had caught the attention of the demon slayers. Gyomei is sent to the forest that Tanjiro trains in to investigate the mysterious demon hunting activities that weren't approved of by the Corps. But instead of finding a swordsman, he stumbles upon none other than the Upper Moon One. Kokushibo's imposing presence leaves the stone Hashira deeply unsettled, but he doesn't hesitate to charge at the demon. Gyomei makes a valiant effort, but he hasn't awakened the Demon Slayer mark yet and he's fighting on his own. This is a one-sided stomp for Kokushibo, but he fails to end the battle before Tanjiro returns, and for the first time he witnesses Kokushibo killing a human with his flesh swords. As a demon, the right choice would have been to kill Tanjiro then and there, but Kokushibo isn't a slave to Muzan's will. Kokushibo reveals that he's the strongest of Muzan's demons, and tells Tanjiro everything about sun-breathing and the history of the Demon Slayers. Knowing that the rest of the Demon Slayers will arrive soon, and unwilling to get Tanjiro caught in the crossfire, Kokushibo leaves, and Tanjiro is left alone to figure out his fate. Notified by Gyomei Kasugai's Crow, a group of Demon Slayers, led by Giyu Tomioka, arrives at Kokushibo's sanctuary. Giyu sees Tanjiro and Nezuko, but neither of them resembles the demon that killed Gyomei. He immediately notes that the demon in the box is extremely weak, a minor threat at best. What's more intriguing is the boy that stands before him with a sword in hand. Tanjiro is definitely not a demon slayer, but he had the aura of a trained swordsman. Tanjiro doesn't resist and agrees to come with the demon slayers as long as they don't harm Nezuko. Giyu realizes that he shouldn't act on his own in this strange situation, and instead asks for a meeting with Master Kaguya and the other Hashira at the Ubuyashiki mansion. Kaguya meets Tanjiro and is intrigued by his story. A swordsman trained in moon breathing by a demon was unheard of, so there was no precedent to judge the situation. Sanemi suggested they should kill the siblings then and there, but Kaguya has a better idea. He wants to see Tanjiro's skills first. Tanjiro is put through the final selection, but at this point, the demons on Mount Fujikasane are just fodder. He obliterates the hand demon, and within a couple days, he can't find a fight as demons actively avoid him. Tanjiro's skills are beyond reproach, so he officially joins the Demon Slayer Corps and begins developing the full forms of Eclipse breathing. At this point, he's drawing on Sumiyoshi Kamado's memories, and training with the image of Yoriichi in his ancestor's mind. Tanjiro performs the Eclipse breathing first form, Twilight Severance, a devastating attack that combines Sun breathing's power with Moon breathing's vicious slashes. The Demon Slayers still aren't ready to accept this new young upstart, and for his first mission, he's thrown right off the deep end, and sent to Mount Naragumo with Inosuke and Zenitsu. But this time, it's not a fight to the death. Tanjiro trained with the Upper Moon 1, so taking out a Lower Moon like Rui is barely a challenge. The Demon Slayers are forced to acknowledge his abilities, but they aren't the only ones who learned of Tanjiro's strengths. Through the Lower Moon 5, Muzan sees a human performing a mix of sun and moon breathing. One technique hasn't been known for 5 centuries, and the other was the specialty of just one swordsman. Muzan immediately senses that Kokushibo was involved, but instead of killing his top lieutenant, he assigns a mission to the Upper Moon 1, eliminate the Demon Slayer who uses Eclipse breathing. On the one hand, Kokushibo doesn't want the Tsukikuin legacy to die, but he also knows that defying Muzan won't help him or Tanjiro. Instead, Kokushibo decides that he'll get what he always wanted, a hard-fought battle to the death that tests the limits of his strength. Now, Tanjiro is probably not powerful enough to take on Kokushibo one-on-one, so the Upper Moon 1 decides that he'll attack in a more favorable setting for the Demon Slayers. So when Muzan prepares to launch his assault on the Swordsmith village, Kokushibo volunteers to go instead of Gyoko and Hantengu, as he knows Tanjiro will be there. This time, the Hashira aren't split, as Kokushibo lays waste to the village starting right at the center. Mitsuri, Genya, Tanjiro, and Muichiro all rush to the scene, converging to take on this new mysterious threat. Kokushibo is surprised. He was expecting to see Tanjiro, but he senses that Muichiro is also one of his kin, a descendant of the children he abandoned so long ago. The ensuing battle is both physically and emotionally devastating, as Tanjiro is forced to wrestle with the burden of fighting his former master. Initially, Kokushibo overwhelms the Demon Slayers, but starting with Tanjiro, they awaken their marks, slowly adapting and defending themselves from Kokushibo's swords. The critical moment comes when a desperate Genya sacrifices himself, being mortally wounded for the chance to bite off one of Kokushibo's flesh swords. His new demonic powers let Genya restrain Kokushibo, while Mitsuri and Muichiro break through his defenses. Sensing the opening thread, Tanjiro crashes through the Eclipse-breathing 9th form, Totality. Unable to fend off 4 threats at once, Kokushibo is finally beheaded. As his body disintegrates, Michikatsu's memories return. He remembers his quest to be strong and smiles as he realizes that Tanjiro has achieved everything he ever dreamed of being. With his master's passing, Tanjiro makes a solemn promise. The legacy of Eclipse breathing will only close with the death of the Demon King. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another awesome Demon Slayer video.